Welcome back to History Vault. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe so you never miss these deep dives into forgotten techniques that shape the past and can still improve your craft today. When we think about medieval carpentry, we often picture timber-framed halls, sturdy bridges, and intricate furniture. But one of the most fascinating secrets of these master builders wasn't in their chisels or saws. It was in what they used to seal, protect, and preserve their wood. Modern sealants promise convenience and durability, yet many of them fail in ways medieval techniques never did. Understanding what these craftsmen relied upon can teach us not only about history, but about smarter, longer-lasting solutions for wood today. Why medieval carpenters trusted natural resins above all else? Long before synthetic polymers, medieval carpenters turned to materials sourced directly from trees and plants. Pine, fir and spruce resins were harvested, purified, and often combined with beeswax or oils to create a thick, pliable sealant. These natural compounds had unique chemical properties. They repelled water, resisted mold, and hardened in a way that allowed wood to breathe rather than crack or warp. Carpenters understood that wood is alive. It expands, contracts, and responds to humidity. A sealant that locks it completely could cause splitting, while a natural resin-based sealant maintained flexibility, protecting joints and surfaces through seasonal changes. How medieval sealants were prepared and applied. Preparation was an art in itself. Raw resin would be gently heated until it liquefied, often combined with linseed or walnut oil to adjust viscosity and penetration. Some formulations included charcoal or finely ground minerals to create colour, increase adhesion, or improve durability. Application was careful and deliberate. Carpenters would brush or rub the warm mixture along joints, seams and surfaces, ensuring penetration into the wood's pores. Excess was wiped away, leaving a thin, protective layer that hardened naturally. So, why does this technique actually outperform modern synthetic sealants in certain conditions? Well, synthetic sealants, while definitely convenient, often rely on forming a rigid film over the wood. Over time, things like temperature fluctuations, moisture, and UV exposure can cause that film to crack, peel, or flake away. In contrast, the natural resin blends used by medieval carpenters would harden, but not by forming a brittle layer. Instead, the sealant kind of moved with the wood, preventing cracks and maintaining protection even on exposed surfaces. Plus, natural resins resist microbial attack. Mold, mildew and fungi that can affect modern sealants rarely penetrate these traditional resin coatings. There are quite a few ways medieval techniques can be adapted today. Modern DIY enthusiasts and craftsmen can really learn a lot from these old methods. For example, you can actually create a natural sealant using pine resin and beeswax for small woodworking projects. Just heat the resin gently, mix in some melted beeswax until you get a nice, pliable texture, and then rub the mixture into the wood with a soft cloth. Once it cools, the coating will repel water while still letting the wood expand and contract naturally. This method works exceptionally well on things like garden furniture, raised beds, or timber frames. Basically anywhere flexibility and durability are, really important. So, why did medieval sealants last for decades without much maintenance, you might wonder? Well, part of their remarkable longevity comes from what they were actually made of. Resin, for example, naturally contains compounds that repel both water and insects, while oils help to lubricate the fibres and keep everything elastic. Beeswax, on the other hand, adds a protective film that can resist dust and abrasion. When all these elements are combined and applied the right way, they form a balanced system that shields the wood from both mechanical wear and environmental stress. In fact, many timber structures built way back in the 14th and 15th centuries still show evidence of these coatings, which really says a lot about just how effective they were. There are some great lessons here for modern carpenters and hobbyists too. The medieval approach kind of reminds us that sometimes simplicity can actually beat complexity. By really understanding and respecting the material properties of wood, using natural products that are compatible, and applying coatings in thoughtful ways, we can often get results that modern chemical solutions just struggle to match. And you know, beyond just historical curiosity, this knowledge has real practical benefits, like longer-lasting finishes, less exposure to harsh chemicals, and a deeper appreciation for how these centuries-old techniques still solve problems we deal with today. So, how can you actually implement natural sealants in your own projects? Well, start small. Pick a piece of wood that needs some protection, maybe a bench, a box, or even an outdoor frame. Prepare a blend of pine resin, linseed oil and beeswax in a 2:1:1 ratio by weight, gently heating the mixture until it's smooth. Then just apply it with a cloth or a brush, paying extra attention to the joints and edges. Let the coating cool and cure before adding a second thin layer if you want. Over time, this sealant will keep hardening and bonding with the wood fibres, creating a protective barrier that's both resilient and honestly kind of self-healing. Medieval carpenters relied on natural materials not just because they had to, but because they discovered solutions that even today outperform many modern alternatives. If you'd like to explore more forgotten techniques that could really transform your craft, go ahead and subscribe to History Vault. And feel free to share this guide with others who value the intersection of historical insight and practical application. By learning from the past, we can build structures and objects that endure, not just for decades, but for centuries.